Hello, everyone, and welcome to the beginning of the last days. It's not the last days, it's the beginning. We have an incredible guest coming on today, Dr. Lee Merritt. You are going to love her. I want to pay tribute to my dear friend, Carol Crossan, who is, she's passed away, and it was her funeral today. And so before I do that, I opened my dad's Bible, as I do every day. And I didn't have my glasses sitting here, so my husband lent me his, so I'm going to look like a dude for a second. But I love to open my dad's Bible. He left me his Bible. I don't know if he knew I would get it or care about it, but I snatched it up when when he passed away, and we all stole all the silver and ran around the house taking all the things that we wanted. We used to joke about that. But I wanted my dad's Bible, and so it's very precious to me. He has underlined from stem to stern. Today, I went to Psalms 65, verse 5. By terrible things in righteousness wilt thou answer us, O God of our salvation, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them that are afar off upon the sea, which by his strength sets fast the mountains, being girded with power, which stills the noise of the seas, the noise of their waves, and the tumult of the people. It basically says that God's power, his strength, his authority stills the upset, the anxiety of the people, and causes us to be at peace. And he does that for all of these other things, the tempest, the storm, the seas. God is in full control. I love that my dad underlined it. And I don't know what it means because he underlined this part in pink. It's like a red, some sort of red letter, red pen or something like that. So that's awesome. I feel close to my dad when I read that kind of thing. Carol Crossan, lawyer Carol Crossan, was an amazing advocate for many people in Canada during this last battle in the last 3 years, when so many of our freedoms and our rights and our, what we thought was sort of expected, that we would have the privilege of free speech, of bodily autonomy. All kinds of things happened that destroyed that because of our prime minister. And Carol Crossan stood in the gap for many people. I want to play a clip from her from a former show on this, the day that we pay tribute to a beautiful woman who is gone much too soon. She died of cancer, and it had been a long run, and she suddenly passed quickly. I spoke with her husband, wonderful man. As you can imagine, the family is broken and missing her so terribly. And the world is less blessed because she's gone. This is Carol.
There are stories that come across my desk every day that break my heart as well. My clients, the suffering that they go through, my hearts are with them every single day. I am, however, encouraged by the resilience of the human spirit, how people that go through all sorts of tragedy and suffering can make it through with such wisdom and insight, and be such examples to those around them. I often find they find meaning. Those who have gone through deep suffering can also find meaning in being an example to the people around them and speaking, their insights to those people. And I often see that. So I'm encouraged by the resilience and the strength of the human spirit, but it no less breaks my heart to see what people go through. So as we keep going through this time, I think it's important that you keep the discussion going, that I keep the discussion going, so we feel like we're not in this alone and that we can be strong together.
Mm-hmm. We will continue to be strong together. Thank you, Carol, for serving our nation and serving the good people of Canada, whom you stood so firmly with. Her husband was telling me about all the cases she won. She won most of her cases by not even stepping foot into the courtroom. She was an incredible representative. I was personally privileged to be in a court case. I think we had 3 days in court. I got to watch her in person. I actually witnessed the hush of the courtroom as Carol spoke, because her words, they had this powerful, I would call an anointing on them that would cause the judge, the opposing counsel, everyone to just be silent and to listen. And she'll be gravely missed. So, before we go to our guest today, Trudeau, the Liberals have withdrawn 2 amendments to Bill C-21 that would have added hundreds of guns to the banned list. I want everyone to feel a little bit of joy today that the amendments to the gun banning are maybe causing a little bit of stir. Take a look.
Mike, his headset is not working, so just wanted to make sure that's also stated. So it reads as follows, that in relation to clause-by-clause consideration of Bill C-21, an act to amend certain acts and to make certain consequential amendments, firearms, Amendment G4, currently under consideration by the committee, be deemed withdrawn, and that Amendment G46, which has not yet been moved, be deemed withdrawn from the package of amendments. It is not our intention, as I noted, to move Amendment G4.
Okay, well, good for you. Thanks, sir. The more guns, the better, because we love hunting in Canada. And, I also feel that there's an important aspect of defending oneself. I feel that's important. If there's an intruder into your home, if there's a bear, we have cougars, that we should have ample ammunition around us to be able to defend ourselves. We have seen Trudeau actually boast about how you can't defend yourself if somebody breaks into your home in Canada. I've seen this. Like, I don't know how he thinks that's cool. Guess what? Guess who's surrounded by soldiers, or what do you call them? Army dudes, security that we pay for him to make sure he's safe in his home. I mean, stunning, isn't it? So I am very excited to have Dr. Lee Merritt back on our show. Here we are in Canada, but we reach the world. We have a large U.S. following. We've always got people from the Netherlands and all over the place watching. And Dr. Lee Merritt is one of our very most favorite people. Let me tell you just a little bit about her, because she began her medical career at the age of 4, carrying her father's black bag on house calls along the back roads of Iowa. In 1980, she graduated from the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry in New York, where she was elected to life membership in the Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society. Dr. Merritt completed an orthopedic surgery residency in the United States Navy and served 9 years as a Navy physician and surgeon before returning to Rochester, where she was the only woman to be appointed to the Louis A. Goldstein Fellow of Spinal Surgery. We welcome you today, Dr. Lee. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you being here. We have seen that the world is a crazy place, and I bet you're seeing that as well down there.
Oh, yeah. The good news is we're in the apocalypse. I know it sounds
Welcome
funny,
to the
but
apocalypse.
welcome. That's exactly. I just gave a speech in Florida to the it was Freedom Law School. They had the freedom. Let's restore freedom rally, and and I said, my title of my speech is COVID. Welcome to the apocalypse, because apocalypse, as you know, doesn't mean the end. It means an unveiling. And look at all the things we've learned in the last 2 years. I mean, if it weren't for the deadly nature of what they're doing to us, this would actually be probably, and I'm a professional student by heart, it would probably be the most unbelievable educational time in my life. But it's critical that we all get involved in this, because we need a worldview that's correct. We're in a war, and the war is against
Sure
us, against human beings.
And
you have to have good intelligence.
Yes, you do have to have good intelligence. And one of the things that you have been highlighting is just sort of the art of war, the use
Yeah.
of fear.
Right. And so I would say my observation, and I kind of knew some of this before, but really I've honed this. I've been doing a lot of philosophical, research into the way the world works. And, I think it's observable from history and my belief that we have been ruled forever. We think we elect our officials. Do we really, did we really elect, Biden? Did you really elect Trudeau? Actually, machines have been, now it's more obvious. A part of the apocalypse is it's become more obvious that it's the machines voting for these people. But if you really look at it from the dawn of civilization, I mean, we had the pharaoh, we were serfs, okay? And then then the leaders were overt, you saw them. But then it became uncool to be, in a pharaoh's garb. So then they became kings, and then they became bankers in suits, and they blend in with the rest of us most of the time. So we don't observe them. But behind the scenes, the world is being run by unseen people using, unseen techniques with secret societies as basically their organization. And I really, they hide from us. We can call it the dark occult or whatever. They have techniques for hiding things from us, and they hide from us the principles of how our body works, how the world works in general. I mean, they've lied to us about, when you start really looking to, we've been lied to about physics, about chemistry, about biology is a big one, about how we work and what the nature of disease is. That's what I've been spending a lot of time on. And once, and I'll just tell you the punchline before I tell you how I got to it, but the punchline, in my opinion, is it's what Max Kaiser, if you ever watch his economic thing, he talks about complexification and crapification. They make things so complex that we think we can't figure it out. So we'll just turn it over to the technocrats. But they're not complex. At the end of time, I think there are certain principles that, God-given principles that are simple. An example of that is, I hear people now that they kind of understand what happened about this recent generalized treatment. I won't call it the VAX thing, but this thing that we've been given, and it's killing a lot of people, and we're getting a lot of people sick and disabled. And now there's some people that are waking up enough to say, hey, why did we shouldn't have done this. Why did you politicians do it? And the answer we get from politicians is mostly, we just didn't understand it. We were told by the doctors and the chemists and the blah, 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 they didn't understand it. And my answer to that is, you don't have to understand the principles or the details of the science to understand the details of liberty. There are principles of liberty here that you all violated. That was your job as politicians. Now, from a medical standpoint, I think the same crapification and complexification is happening. In my lifetime, and I'm classically trained MD, in my lifetime, the idea was, you had to get in, you have to spend thousands of hours in doctors to just ask yourself, to get a diagnosis. We can't treat you unless we have a precise diagnosis. But that's not what ancient medicine was about. Ancient medicine was about really two things. It was about purification, get right with God, and detoxification. And it's interesting to note that in Latin, virus means toxin. Doesn't mean a little animalcule that floats out of your mouth and goes to make somebody else sick. It means toxin. So I've come to the conclusion that there are 4 things that everybody needs to do. And I've figured this out because every time somebody calls me now, I'm always telling them the same 4 things. I'm realizing those are the only 4 things, in my opinion. It's detoxification, get the toxins out of your body. Okay. Number 2 is get the parasites out of your body. Number 3 is EMF protection. And number 4 is supplementation. We have to, we don't, and then obviously get right with God. That's the one I'm
Amen. Get right with God and get on Rumble. So what we're going to say to everybody, we've got YouTube going strong right now. We've got a good amount of people on there. If you would head over to rumble.com, there's a lot that we're going to talk about with Dr. Lee Merritt today, and we want to be respectful of YouTube and their rules and their parameters. And so we need to say goodbye to you in the chat. You will find the link right now. You can go, it's at the bottom, and you can go straight to Rumble to hear more of what Dr. Lee has to say. We value our platform here on YouTube, so we're going to say goodbye to you and see you over on Rumble where we can have a further discussion. Okay, everyone?